Evidence-based health and safety analysis in megaproject. Regarding the technical challenge to health and safety in megaproject, this paper puts forward a new evidence-based health and safety analysis (EHSA) approach in megaproject. The purpose of the paper is to initiate a conceptual EHSA framework to support evidence-based learning in practice-oriented research into large-scale complex health and safety management in megaproject. The EHSA approach aims to find an innovative way to facilitate the collection of data and information from accumulated professional knowledge about accidents and failures, as well as good practices and innovations, to derive useful lessons to inform improved practice in health and safety management in megaproject. Through a scenario-based case study, this paper will demonstrate how the EHSA approach can effectively support health and safety management in megaproject. It is expected that this paper can make a good contribution to the body of knowledge by providing the new EHSA approach and a practice-oriented experimental case study on the use of EHSA approach for health and safety management in construction projects to inform future practice and research at strategic and tactic level. Construction Safety Administration considers megaproject higher than $1 billion. This thought, although being objective, must be comprehended in a specific setting, claiming the greatness of a speculation. Littler, bigger venture, the super increase should essentially be acknowledged in the financial condition in which it is communicated. It is so that a quantitative conception can be applied in a more general if it considers the amount of the investment according to some objective parameter, such as the GDP of the economy in which it is carried out. Returning to the case of the nation of America, whose GDP exceeds $14,000 million, a mega project would be all project with an investment equal to or greater than approximately 0.01% of GDP. The classification of mega project in this way, it can be established that a good part of the mega project infrastructure for scaffold dismantling process projects executed in national during the last 2 decades, those currently in execution, and the that are part of your future investment portfolio, respond to this category. Time is a factor that distances or approaches the presence of the discourses and practices of everyday work. So, with time, and depending on the severity, accidents tend to disappear from everyday life in the workplace. And so, little by little, they re-influence and gain relevance again factors such as probability and chance, discomfort, etc., that push towards relaxation in customs, which imply the prevention of labor risks and the absence of fear. It is public knowledge that the sector of construction presents a greater number of occupational accidents than any other sector economic. This situation is a problem social and economic importance due to the high percentages of accidents, which, for the case of megaproject, they represent a problem greater, given the little culture that is had about and the poor regulation and commitment of participating agents. The number of fatal accidents in developing countries is significantly higher than in industrialized countries, a distinction it is predominantly because of the presence of better well-being and security programs, to the change of emergency treatment and medicinal administrations in the industrialized countries, and to the dynamic interest of workers in the basic leadership on well-being and security issues. One of the businesses that have the most astounding risk of accidents on the planet is construction. Now and again, it is anything but difficult to decide the reason for an accident at work, yet all the time there is a shrouded chain of occasions that have delivered the accident that caused the worker's damage. Accidents are frequently in a roundabout way caused by the carelessness of the employer, who might not have satisfactorily prepared the worker, or by a provider who gives wrong data about an item, and so on. The diagnosis of the safety and health situation in construction is not new. A change is necessary of the agents that intervene in the sector: entrepreneurs, professionals, workers, Ministry of Social Protection, risk managers professionals, ARP, external advisors and leaders in prevention, trained in the companies of construction, and in the contractors. The high rates of fatal accidents in developing countries underscore the requirement for the word-related health and safety preparing programs that emphasis on aversion. It is likewise critical to advance the development of work-related health administrations, in addition to other things via preparing specialists to distinguish word-related maladies in their beginning times. Albeit these days some word-related perils are better known, new synthetic compounds and advancements seem each year, showing new and regularly obscure risks for workers and the network. The absence of social arrangements that manage with the establishment to dynamic and inactive operators, formal and of the society, and with the interest of the social performers, about the measures of aversion amid the development of assignments, is a prevalent factor in the tricky raised. These new and obscure risks constitute significant issues for workers, employers, teachers, and researchers. That is, for every one of the individuals who are worried about the health of specialists and the results that risk operators have on nature of construction megaproject. Another criterion to consider is to look at the megaproject from the perspective of the large construction companies worldwide, mega construction businesses, which they operate globally. Reviewing the list of 50 companies' largest construction companies in the world, we will see that for these are of interest projects for amounts that, being high, are well below the one that points the referred North American federal agency, but that at local levels, especially when it comes to smaller economies, it has the significance, complexities, risks, and impacts of a megaproject. In this way, a megaproject is defined as a public development whose conditions make it extraordinary considering that they require long execution times, they require extremely high budgets for the economy in which they develop, involve a high number of public actors, and private present greater risks and high technological, legal complexities, and environmental factors to carry them out, all of which generate significant tensions in various lines of work. Managing health and safety in megaprojects presents unique technical challenges due to their immense scale, complexity, and diverse stakeholders. An evidence-based health and safety analysis, or EHSA, offers a promising approach to address these challenges. By systematically collecting and analyzing data from past incidents, best practices, and innovations, EHSA enables organizations to learn from real-world experiences. This method not only helps identify root causes of accidents, but also informs the development of more effective safety strategies, ultimately reducing risk and improving outcomes in large-scale construction projects. In each type of work, in each specific company, and in each job position, some habits, some evidence cases, some values are generated that are transmitted from the higher authorities. This is existent in workers who are more experienced to the most novice, which tends to perpetuate themselves in time. Risks in the working environment can expect altogether different structures, among others, concoction, physical, organic, mental, the absence of use of ergonomic standards, and so on. Because of the huge number of risks in many working environments and the general absence of consideration, numerous employers provide for health and safety, accidents and business-related diseases stay difficult issues in every aspect of work. Parts of the world and, along these lines, exchange associations should demand that employers battle risks at the source and not compel workers to adjust to dangerous conditions. Although with significant changes, depending on the actions taken that they are taking, Richardson et al., 1999. That set of evidence cases and values is what is called work culture, which in turn can lead to a greater or lower degree of prevention in the evidence-based health and safety instigated into the megaproject. The problem being addressed in the paper is lack of evidence-based practices and/or EHSA framework implementation in megaprojects and resultant consequences. The paper analyses the problem in megaprojects with the proposed case study methodology and an evidence-based methodology, EHSA framework, which is the subject matter in correspondence. Implementing an evidence-based health and safety analysis, or EHSA framework, in real-time megaprojects begins with systematically collecting and analyzing data from similar past projects. By integrating evidence-based practices, teams can identify high-risk conditions and unsafe behaviors, prioritizing interventions that have proven effective elsewhere. Regular assessments, transparent reporting, and collaboration across organizational levels ensure that lessons learned are applied in practice, not just on paper. Ultimately, this approach enables more informed decision-making, reduces accidents, and fosters a culture of continuous safety improvement. How to implement an EHSA framework to evaluate real-time megaproject and reach valid conclusions. And how to integrate evidence-based practices to find a solution to such issues identified associated with megaproject. The 3 research questions are addressed with the proposed EHSA framework in megaproject with case study methodology and an evidence-based approach. The construction segment is viewed as a standout amongst the most unsafe parts of the industry. Construction is constantly risky due to outside exercises, working tallness, hardware and gear. Accidents happen due to a mix of different components. Routinely, they are arranged into hazardous evidence case and risky condition. HSE inferred that the evidence instance of the individual is engaged with around 80% of occasions. Numerous investigations have demonstrated that workers' hazardous evidence case more than dangerous conditions are associated with accidents. Accidents in construction destinations happen because of 3 noteworthy reasons. The primary, inability to distinguish dangerous conditions that there are before action or after beginning, has been extended. The second choice to keep working after the specialist recognized risky current conditions, and the third choice to hazardous execution, paying little heed to introductory conditions at work. The time and money managed in the activity are recovered, obtaining effective and fast results. It is necessary to be clear that it is not enough for it to be put on paper, but also to be put into practice, and for this, it is essential that the proper development of the same be supervised. The data reflected in this research demonstrate the need to undertake the issue of occupational safety and health in all its dimensions and with the participation of all the members of the organization. EHSA, evidence-based health and safety analysis, is considered of great importance to deepen in a future investigation the subject related to the evidence cases of the people and the motivation, taking into account that the insecure acts are part of the main causes that have generated labor accidents in said construction projects, and that also these can be related to motivation, since this is the force that stimulates a person to do something, caused either by an external stimulus that comes from the environment, family problems, economic, or generated by mental processes of the worker. Therefore, a psychological study related to this topic would help to understand in more depth the basic causes related to personal factors and the immediate causes related to the insecure acts of workers who work in this sector, which has been of great importance for the economy of the country. But at the same time, it presents a great number of dangers and latent risks daily that can affect the physical, mental, and social integrity of the collaborators. The construction of scenarios aims to organize and systematize the enormous volume of available information representing a limited number of future worlds. For this, it divides the knowledge between what it assumes as solid and linear tendencies and what it labels as unknowable or surrounded by uncertainty. As it has already pointed out, everything that affects the future, which is surrounded by uncertainty, but not establishing a minimum of highly probable tendencies or circumstances, would lead to major downfalls of even megaproject. Megaprojects are large-scale ventures that normally cost $1 billion or above and have unique and inherent risk that present challenges to principal contractors. Safety and health risks are some of the most important risks in megaprojects because of a comparatively high injury and mortality rate in the construction sector in comparison to other industries. While safety is the leading challenge in construction, the rate of improvements in safety has been slowing down. The health and safety standards in the context of the construction projects have become an area of international concern. Although the United Kingdom, UK, has a reasonable record in comparison to other countries of the world, the construction projects still account for 1/3 of the workplace fatalities, with almost similar records for ill health. An ASPA HSE report about the total number of accidents occurred in UK construction industries since last 5 years are summarised. The evidence-based health and safety investigation, EHSA, involves a specialised approach given to health and safety administration process through the utilisation of various evidence-based techniques in any project in advance. The structure for EHSA, Figure 1, was at first developed while doing a research identified with construction megaprojects, and its significant part is to support the selection of the evidence-based procedures of health and safety administration in megaproject. The specialised parts should be very much associated with setting up an EHSA coordinated work program for megaproject. And the associations over these specialised segments are procedures which should be additionally characterised to help the accumulation, stockpiling, and utilisation of evidence, including information and data, as a matter of fact, on comparative projects embraced by experts inside and outside any organisation. The usage of EHSA additionally needs a case base that has a decent measure of evidence and exercise took in related territories from a rich wellspring of past projects that will direct an EHSA in a project and different organisations in nearby, local, national, and universal extension. As per the starter writing on the foundation of depicted research, specialised segments and procedures to be coordinated together to shape EHSA framework incorporate the procedure of RIDOR, the procedure of arranged megaproject, the procedure of the evidence-based technique, and the procedure of basic leadership on EHSA. As per RIBA, the structure is intended to fuse exercises to actualize evidence-based learning all through a non-exclusive work procedure for which RIBA plan of work was adjusted to the requirement for use in construction megaproject. And these exercises incorporate directing EHSA regarding other strong exercises depicted beneath, including gathering specialized arrangements, gathering evidence, gathering specialized answers for construction, megaproject crosswise over work stages, and making a judgment on specialized arrangement evaluation and execution plan for health and safety administration, and additionally activity organize. The EHSA procedure will be directed through a few specialized advances, including the initial step includes getting ready assessment criteria and checkpoints for health and safety survey and evaluation at singular work phases of megaproject in a project. The second step includes securing detailed evidence on inside and remotely announced wounds, illnesses and perilous events, and other related information and data from past practice in comparable projects. The methodology used has allowed us to understand how for a significant number of entrepreneurs and workers, the factors hindering work in megaproject and make them waste a considerable time, to the time that reduces manual skills, which causes, along with other factors, that many of them do not use them in all situations. Lastly, is the surveying the specialized arrangement upon a megaproject project at singular work stages. The chart named Figure 1 beneath demonstrates the exercises engaged with the megaproject procedure. About training in safety and health in the construction, it is observed that despite being the basis for carrying out the risk assessment and its subsequent prevention, the contribution in this field is little. This evidence case is related not only for the lack of research production, but also because of the lack of this in the plans of study of careers related to construction, and of course in the workforce that executes the works. The evidence is one that is achieved by means of a single technique of gathering information may suggest a superiority of quantitative approaches over qualitative ones. This division between one perspective and another can make us fall into sterile discussions. So it would be worth clarifying three things. Each information collection technique tends to answer questions of a diverse nature, while the technique, within the evidence-based health and safety analysis approach, seeks to estimate the effect produced by an intervention in the construction megaproject. It equally responds to other valid purposes such as understanding how construction-associated risk occurs within a specific context. The methodology will be used to undertake awareness programs and create awareness for taking safety as a fundamental value in such a way that it contributes to the reduction of unsafe acts, which are constantly presented during the development of work activities in the construction megaproject. The EHSA framework presented in Figure 1 is developed to incorporate the function of evidence-based learning and practice into the current work process, such as the RIBA plan of work. It is essential to show the reasonability of EHSA in honest-to-goodness attempts after the specific structure is introduced. As it is an ongoing examination of EHSA structure and its tool stash, including the EHSA case base and EHSA appraisal criteria and checkpoints, this paper just gives a short chat on the use of EHSA on a circumstance base in megaproject. By utilizing EHSA for this safe screen framework usage process, which was a piece of the whole facade substitution project, the specialized advances are given in the technical description area above should be directed. The EHSA framework is intended to fuse exercises to actualize evidence-based learning all through a non-exclusive work procedure for which RIBA plan of work was adjusted to the requirement for use in construction megaproject. And these exercises incorporate directing EHSA regarding other strong exercises depicted underneath, including gathering specialized arrangements, gathering evidence, gathering specialized answers for construction, megaproject crosswise over work stages, and making a judgment on specialized arrangement evaluation and execution plan for health and safety administration at additionally activity organize, RIBA 2013. The EHSA structure will be led through a few specialized advances, including the initial step, includes getting ready assessment criteria and checkpoints for health and safety audit and evaluation at singular work phases of construction megaproject in a project. Technical analysis. The evidence-based health and safety investigation, EHSA, being advanced in this paper is by and large characterized as a specialized way to deal with safety administration by joining evidence-based strategy into the entire work procedure of a progressing project, and a specialized structure of EHSA has been first developed in the research for construction project health and safety. The workers don't make the risks. In numerous cases, the risks are now in the work environment. Crafted by the association in the field of work-related health and safety is to guarantee that work is more secure by changing the work environment and any hazardous work procedures that exist. At the end of the day, the arrangement comprises of dispensing with risks, not attempting to influence workers to adjust to dangerous conditions. Expecting workers to wear defensive attire that isn't proper to the atmosphere of their locale is a case of how workers can be compelled to attempt to adjust to risky conditions by moving the obligation of the administration to the worker. The motivation behind such a specialized structure is to encourage the appropriation of evidence-based strategy in very much directed work process for safety administration in construction projects in respect to two megaprojects, Changi Viaduct and Maskan Mehr, a noteworthy construction project in Iran. The requirement for looking for educated basic leadership bolster in project administration has put information reuse in a requesting spot to successfully take in exercises, as a matter of fact, for better execution in the new project with the accompanying EHSA framework. Technical description. The technical description and analysis is in the following sections. Case study. This section acts as an overview for the same. Once clarified what is the development and analysis of scenarios, it is important to learn how they are built, i.e., its technical description. With minor differences, the specialized literature agrees in pointing out the following steps. Step 1. Delimit the basic parameters of the analysis. In all research, it is necessary to delimit the object of study, time horizon, geographic scope. Step 2. Identify research needs. In a certain way, this step is present in each of the phases that the project sees. As the technique is applied, information gaps will be discovered, and there will be less security in supposed certainties. It will result in research demands. This is another of the virtues of scenario analysis. It helps us discover the famous unknown unknowns, relevant issues whose ignorance is not acceptable. The identification of research needs also applies to the eventual final phase of prospective surveillance, aimed at following the evolution of the indicators and the evidence base of the drivers. Among other results can be materialized in a list of sources of a usual update to consult. For example, indexes and databases of various phenomena, such as those offered by Human Development Index, Fragile States Index, Transparency International, Global Peace Index, Uppsala Conflict Data Program, Freedom House, Index of Economic Freedom, International Religious Freedom Report, Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SciPRI, Small Arms Survey, etc. Step 3. Identify the main actors involved. Following the example of Step 1, apart from obviously main actors, the internal actors of the conflict should be included, as well as other especially relevant external actors, starting with the United States. Step 4. Identify the basic trends, megaproject, and their impact. These are major trends that will significantly affect the reality out studying, and which will most likely remain active or intensify in the time of our study. The Global Trends reports the construction megaproject. Other authors call drivers both these trends and the critical uncertainties of Step 4. It could translate the term literally as drivers, or, more freely, as drivers of change. But it is also common to refer to them by their Anglo-Saxon denomination. At the same time, other works distinguish between trends and drivers, understanding the former in a broader and more comprehensive manner, composed in turn of different drivers. As the present document has a didactic and introductory purpose, it will use the term driver to refer to both the basic tendencies or megaproject, as well as critical uncertainties or game changers. The selection of megaproject depends logically on the subject studied, but in any case, it is convenient to make an exploration that covers all the relevant areas. The team that elaborates the scenarios must agree that megaprojects will continue to exist within the framework of the time horizon. Otherwise, the trend in question would belong to the category of Step 4. Once identified and collected as data, it is convenient to assign and process the information associated with each megaproject, positive, negative, or unknown impact, and the how it will influence the phenomenon being studied. EHSA in megaproject. Step 5. Identify key uncertainties. The Global Trends documents call this type of drivers game changers. It is about imagining which variables whose value is difficult to determine will significantly affect the issue of evidence-based construction project health and safety. After identifying key variables in a megaproject, it's crucial to assess each one for its potential impact and uncertainty. Focusing on those with both high impact and high uncertainty allows project teams to anticipate and plan for significant risks. In the case of the Changi Viaduct collapse, such analysis could have highlighted structural vulnerabilities before tragedy struck. By systematically applying frameworks like EHSA, organizations can better safeguard workers and improve project outcomes through proactive risk management. Case 1. Nearly a year after a construction failure which killed one worker and injured 10 others, the Land Transport Authority has decided to demolish all crossheads on the uncompleted sections of the Upper Changi Pan Island Expressway Viaduct on 14th of July 2017. More of the structure may be pulled down later if they are deemed unsafe. In a statement 2 hours after the main contractor and 5 people were charged in court for their role in the fatal collapse last July, the regulator said the decision to demolish the crossheads was a safety precaution following the discovery of cracks on corbels at the incident site earlier. Application of EHSA could prevent the incident. Case analysis and lessons learned. Rows of metal supports have been raised to help parts of an inadequate Upper Changi Road East Viaduct after cracks were found amid an examination concerning the savage crumple of an area a week ago. The breaks were found at 11 areas on stack-bearing corbels at the worksite. As a prudent step, the 6 viaduct areas where the splits were found were additionally propped up. Directly after the accident, a qualified individual, QP, for the outline from the project organisation examined the auxiliary uprightness of the staying 6 ranges of the viaduct at the site. The explanations behind the accident that corbels, sections that assistant support bars, had given way. Splits were likewise found in the region supporting 11 different parts of the viaduct. It happened while throwing an area of the viaduct adjoining a slip street from Upper Changi Road East to the Pan Island Expressway when the segment has fallen. The 2 corbels, which are intended to hold the beams set horizontally during the project development, collapsed, letting the incomplete viaduct to collapse resultant in 11 workers to be injured and the death of 1 worker. The standardized suggestions from the issues are that there was insufficient consideration paid to the plan and development of the viaduct and the safety of workers. Framework ought to be set up as extra support to prop up shafts at the rest of the ranges of the viaduct, where breaks have been found at 11 areas on stack-bearing corbels. As a careful step, the 6 viaduct areas where the breaks were found ought to be additionally propped up. The risks will be turned away if additional propping is added up to the bars adjacent to the fallen span. The incident area in Changi Viaduct. Collapse. Application of EHSA and validation of EHSA. By applying the EHSA framework, the application is measured and analysed. The cause and nature of these newly discovered cracks, whether they are minor or point to more serious problems, are still being studied. Megaproject experts hold that cracks are common in load-bearing concrete structures, so long as they are not beyond a certain width. The technique and instruments used for the investigation consisted of 2 questionnaires, integrated into one for the purposes of the application. The first questionnaire focused on measuring functional evidence case, aimed at measuring the aspects associated with human error in the functional evidence case, and identifying the modes of human failure in the functional evidence case of workers in companies in the construction sector. Corbels are designed to hold only a temporary load at the early construction stage. When the concrete in the rest of the structure has set, it becomes self-supporting, and most of the load is lifted from the corbels. Cracks, if any, are typically detected during inspections by the main contractor or the project consultants before the next stage of work. These cracks would be patched up using cement or epoxy. Changi Viaduct. Megaproject collapse case data summarized. In corbels made using reinforced concrete, cracks occur as concrete is not that great in dealing with tensional forces, but the metal reinforcement bars within the corbels should be able to withstand the stress. While cracks in multiple corbels may hint at a possible design issue, it reaches the conclusions through the evidence-based health and safety practices and instigates more evidence with valid information. The identification of human errors, at its simplest level, considers that the person can fail by not achieving sufficient precision in carrying out activities, performing activities at the wrong time, anticipation, delay, not carrying out the activities, omission, and perform an inappropriate activity instead of the required one, as determined using the EHSA frameworks. In this way, the links between the prescriptions linked to production or those linked to safety and hygiene, that is, to the organisation of work, and on the other hand, of these regarding the variability of the operators involved in the productive processes, pose a central problem in the face of the necessary deviations between the prescribed work of real work. The Changi Viaduct is evaluated with evidence-based scenario analysis. The EHSA framework is used to substantiate the health and safety concerns from the evaluation of the megaproject. Figure 3 shows the Changi Viaduct evaluation with EHSA framework. Thus, these contradictions of safety and hygiene are managed by regulatory agents based on their normative actions with the EHSA framework formulated on the Changi Viaduct megaproject, which makes, in short, the specific and distinctive human action against any other type of artificial action. Case 2. This study has been led in a mass construction site in Iran, Maskan Mehr project. Sort of site process is solid passage shape and support workers where workers were presented to the most astounding risks, while accidents in these gatherings are illustrative of this word. In this way, the fundamental workers were chosen from these gatherings. Notwithstanding deal with the platform, as the fundamental risk in each site, is considered as the third gathering. General motivation behind this study was the application of evidence case-based safety among construction workers. Neumann et al., 2004. Past examinations on the significance and adequacy of evidence case-based safety practices were said in different enterprises. The huge upgrades in safety and execution of organizations who have actualized BBS process have given this way to deal with safety administration validity and status. The evidence case-based safety approach dependably targets evidence cases to assess and afterwards attempts support, increment, or declines them. In the study, Ibrahim et al., 2012, utilized an evidence case based in the construction locales in evidence cases, for example, housekeeping, access to tallness, framework, individual defensive gear in a few distinct destinations. The procedure for the exploratory outline was utilized. They assembled data and brought out measures among 4 bunches through 34 weeks. They likewise utilized baseline scores before treatment strategy based on the safety of each gathering. The relative level of execution in each gathering was set up as a realistic bend. Their investigations finished up in 2 cases. Housekeeping and access to ideal attractive outcomes were obtained. Case analysis and lesson learnt. The objectives of the case analysis were to discover the elements of safety atmosphere, safety preparing, and safety inspiration impacts the safe conduct. Through writing surveys, the evidence-based safety reasonable structure, upheld by hypothesis, planned evidence case was developing. The estimations devices were embraced by past researchers. The objective respondents were the workers at a construction site, and quantitative technique was connected. The lesson learned from the megaproject is that from implementing an EHSA framework, it was observed that the megaproject failure was due to improper usage of materials and lack of proper construction safety with substandard materials usage. The use of lower-grade materials ended up in the collapse of the megaproject when a part of the structure crumbled. The standardized suggestions with help of EHSA framework for Maskan Mehr project are that proper evidence-based practices to ensure better grade materials and quality structure is framed in the megaproject. The evidence-based practices will upkeep the standards to be met for the megaproject to be standardized to the required specifications of the established control limits and specifications. This can improvise the megaproject implementation to be substantiated with proper evidence-based practices and the EHSA framework. Application and validation of EHSA framework is connected to the megaproject case of workers in the construction part and their advancement of health and safety, often having fewer data about employee health and safety, and get no training. Consequently, their mentalities about evidence cases emerge as a matter of fact, and if occasions from themselves and their collaborator have not happened to proceed with their evidence cases. Along these lines, the imperative elements of the evidence case-based safety could be, to begin with, present the dangerous evidence cases of workers and second-change workers' mentalities toward uncertain evidence case through preparing programs. EHSA can be efficiently used for analysing the case studies which can be measured relative to megaproject. The efficient utilisation of the framework in the case studies is used to enable a viable framework for evaluating them. Apart from the evidence-based analysis with EHSA framework, it is helpful to analyse the case studies of Changi Viaduct collapse and Maskan Mehr. They can be studied with the relevant structure of the framework to learn possibilities to risk avoidance of health and safety in megaproject relevant to future studies. The structure is approved with evidence case-based safety includes the reasonable application of safety procedures based on this present reality, evidence cases of employees in work circumstances. Everybody is viewed as mindful for their own safety, as well as for the safety of others. Hazardous evidence case can trigger accidents and wounds. Distinguishing basic work environment safety issues empowers an organization to survey the issue territories and make evidence case-based safety rules. Validation of EHSA structure for the construction workers' health and safety in the Maskan Mehr megaproject in Iran is vital. The noteworthiness to substantiate with EHSA framework considers important. The change of safety, health and working conditions eventually relies upon the coordinated effort of individuals who cooperate, regardless of whether employers or workers. Security administration incorporates the elements of planning, distinguishing proof of issue regions, coordination, control and heading of safety exercises in the work, all with the point of anticipating accidents and diseases. It is often misunderstood what accident prevention means, since most people mistakenly believe that accident is equivalent to injury, which presupposes that an accident is unimportant unless it leads to an injury. Construction managers are obviously concerned about workers' injuries, but their main concern should be the hazardous conditions that cause them, the incident, rather than the injury itself. In a construction site, there are many more incidents than injuries. A dangerous action can be performed hundreds of times before it causes an injury, and efforts must be concentrated on eliminating those potential dangers. You cannot expect human or material damage to do anything. Recommendations. Training in the company is not the solution to all the challenges of prevention of risks. Hence, EHSA framework is a useful and necessary technique, surely fundamental for developing the preventive climate and internalizing these aspects, a predisposition, and this is where the training is linked to the concept of preventive culture. Safety of megaproject is ensured with the EHSA framework and their related aspects: buildings, facilities, equipment, tools, machines, places of work, and frameworks and methods of work, under the supervision of the employer, of conformity with national laws and regulations, technical standards or repertoires of practical recommendations. With the EHSA framework, mega project expert should examine and verify, by type or separately, as appropriate, the safety of the machines, equipment and materials used in construction megaproject. As the evidence-based practice demands it, EHSA should use shrouds, winds, shoring, braces, or supports, or take other effective precautions to prevent any risk of collapse, while they carry out construction, conservation, repair, dismantling, or demolition work. The EHSA framework used for evaluating case study focuses on developing this predisposition toward a safety culture of prevention, involves working on values, attitudes, and an evidence-based case of the society and its collectives and organizations to move forward stable and permanent improvement in working condition. Training in occupational safety and health in construction in megaproject are limited, as it is considered as additional training or specialization, and not as part of the training basic of undergraduate careers. It is not counted with specific graduate programs for the construction sector. Additionally, despite there are careers in the industrial safety area, there is a direct relationship between the careers of the construction sector.
EHSA provides a robust foundation for managing safety in megaprojects, especially during complex tasks like scaffold dismantling. By assigning direct responsibility to specialized government entities, the process becomes more organized and effective. The construction sector faces unique occupational hazards, particularly with high-risk activities such as working at heights and handling heavy equipment. Implementing a comprehensive safety framework like EHSA helps identify and control both immediate and underlying causes of accidents, ensuring safer work environments and benefiting all stakeholders involved in large-scale projects. EHSA is beneficial for megaprojects. It acts as the provision of a basic infrastructure for scaffold dismantling process M. Such activities facilitating the direct responsibility for its provision has been established at the ministerial, normally Ministries of Public Works or Transport, or of Infrastructure for Scaffold Dismantling Process EHS, which in turn locate this task in addresses, services, or specialized institutes, which are part of the organic of the ministry itself, and which are, therefore, organisms or entities of the centralized administration of the state. The construction sector has a set of occupational hazards specific to the activity, which are relevant to the work carried out at height, excavation work, hoisting of materials, and the temporary nature of their work centers, among others. This leads to the implementation of the management framework of health and safety in the worker of that sector be applied differently. For this reason, the activities carried out in the construction works are considered high risk and therefore can trigger work accidents. Construction workers and employers carry out works on roads, houses, and workplaces, as well as repair and maintenance of the physical infrastructure of the country. The construction sector includes the manufacture of new structures, renovations that involve additions, remodeling, or maintenance and repair in the megaproject, ranging from roads to public service networks. Occupational accidents can be generated by immediate or basic causes. The prompt ones are those that deliver the accident specifically and are comprised of hazardous acts, deficient evidence case of workers that can cause a working episode, and risky conditions, facilities, gear, apparatus, and instruments that are in poor condition and put at risk of affliction and accident to workers. In any case, to accomplish a powerful answer for work accidents, it is fundamental to perceive and control the essential causes, which offer assent to prompt causes that are coordinated by individual factors to be specific, erroneous work propensities, off-base utilization of gear, instruments and establishments, physical or mental, hearing insufficiencies and so forth, and work factors, poor supervision and initiative, deficient strategies, procedures, rules or practices, insufficient planning and/or programming of work, and so on. Both the studies in Correspondence, Viaduct in Changi, as well as Maskan Mehr, project in Iran, are analyzed with EHSA framework. A rigorous evidence case-based safety framework and its intercession program was executed and conveyed on target construction locales. In the wake of taking half a month of safety evidence case estimations, the project administration group executed the outlined intercession and estimations were taken. As per Chaudhry et al. 2014, objective setting sessions are orchestrated nearby with workers' support to set practical and achievable focuses of execution. Safety execution estimations proceeded, and the levels of execution and the objectives were introduced on input graphs. Administrators were requested to give workers acknowledgement and acclaim when they acted securely or enhanced basic evidence cases. Spectators were asked to have dialogues with workers, visit the site, disperse preparing materials to workers, and give input to groups and show graphs. They were required to converse with agents within the sight of line chiefs. It was important to develop mindfulness and comprehension of what was being estimated. All the while, agents figured out the proper behavior securely when directing site undertakings, utilizing the composed agendas. The stakeholders are benefited with the development of new works, especially those of great magnitude, is an element that usually strives highly beneficial because of the expected gains. At the same time, the stakeholders can be aware of facing the important externalities during its development, or that may cause changes, drastic economic social scenarios, especially from the impacts on the territory, transformations that are not always advantageous for all. Therefore, it avoids conflicts between stakeholders and, above all, optimizes the development of a mega-project, the involvement of all parties involved, as well as prospective stakeholders interested from the earliest stages, is essential. Hansen et al., 2013. This work normally is delegated to functional or executive-type entities, whether they have greater or lesser levels of autonomy, which ultimately report to the stakeholders that play a major role in the sector. Please like, follow, and subscribe for more details.